Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for coming to um, course 6 on the Diamond Cutter Sutra. We're about to start with class 9 already. So please take a moment and bring to mind your motivation for taking this course. It provides us the tools to be able to escape from this circle of suffering that we find ourselves in now. If you are who you appear to me to be, if you are like me, understanding uh, the Diamond Cutter Sutra and the topics in the Diamond Cutter Sutra, we can meditate on these topics. We can use these ideas to get out of suffering. And once we're out of suffering, then we can uh, become fully enlightened. And then we'll be able to truly benefit all other living beings so that they can also get out of suffering. So if you would like, uh, you can join me in the prayers before class. Sashi Puki Jukshin Metotra Rera Blingshi Nyende Gampadi Sangye Shindu Mikte Oarki Dokun Namdak Shingna Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryataya Mi. Sangye Chudan Soki Chuknam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kapsu Chi Daki Chishe Kipe Sunam Ki Jola Pinchir Sangye Chuparsho Sangye Chudan Soki Chuknam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsu Chi Daki Chishe Kipe Sunam Ki Chola Pinchir Sangye Chuparsho Sangye Chudan Soki Chuknam La Changchu Pardu Dakni Kyapsu Chi Daki Chishe Kipe Sunam Ki Jola Pinchir Sangye Chuparsho. So before we get started on class 9, which is about emptiness in the perfection of wisdom, were there any questions about previous classes? No? Okie dokie. More evidence that you are not who you appear to be. Okay, so the sutra at the point we're at, um, sorry, you all jumped over to the other side of my screen. I want you in front of me. Okay, the sutra at the point that we're at, Subhuti asks the Buddha, well, what should we call this sutra? What should we call this teaching? And the Buddha says, Sharab ki pero tu chinpa. Please say Sharab, Sharab ki paro tu chimpa. And we had this before. Sharab ki paro tu chimpa. Paro tu chimpa. Can anyone tell me what paro tu chimpa means? Yes, thank you, Tin. It means perfection, paramita in Sanskrit. And Sharab means wisdom, right? So it's interesting. There's nowhere, even though we call this sutra, and it has been called for, as long as it's been printed, the Diamond Cutter Sutra. The word diamond is not found in the sutra itself. It's called the Buddha said it should be called the perfection of wisdom. So there are 4 kinds of perfection of wisdom. In the in your reading, Cheni Lama, Cheni Dragpa Shedrup, he says, there's 4 different kinds, and then he doesn't really get into it. So we'll get into it now. The first one is called Rangshin Sherchin. So Sherchin is just an abbreviation of Sherab Kipero Tujimpa, right? It's just this part and this part. And so Rangshin is the distinction we're going to have between these 4 different kinds of perfection of wisdom. So this first one, Rangshin Sherchin, is the natural perfection of wisdom. There, in some people's teachings of Buddhism, they talk about that there's this sort of innate Buddha inside of us that if we just uncover, then we discover that we already are a Buddha. And this is not what this is talking about. in the lineage of Geshe uh, this is not held as being true. Uh, the natural perfection of wisdom is defined as that thing which has never inspired a bad thought in anyone who saw it directly. That thing which, from time without beginning, has never inspired a bad thought in anyone who saw it directly. So, what does that sound like? That's emptiness. So, emptiness is called the natural perfection of wisdom. So, anyone who has seen emptiness directly, it has never inspired in them a bad thought. And we can't say that about any other object. You can, we can meet the Buddha, we can meet a deity, we can meet a bodhisattva, we can meet an Arya. We cannot say that even seeing those kinds of beings could never inspire a negative thought. You know, there are people who have met Aryas, Bodhisattvas, Buddhas, who had negative thoughts rise about them. You know, I've seen people do that with each teacher I've ever had. You know, uh, there are people who feel negative about them or do negative things about them. So, ultimate reality, emptiness, those two are synonyms. Now, is emptiness a positive thing or a negative thing? Is it positive in the, oh, great, thank you. It is negative. It's the absence of something, right? It's the absence of the self nature of the thing that you're looking at. Now, does it have a cause or is it without cause? Right, it does not have a cause. Things that have causes fluctuate over time. They come into being. They are born. Uh, they like there's a process of being born. There's a process of aging. There's a process of dying over time. And emptiness is not like that. The absence of a self nature of this thing, for example, came into being the instant that this thing became a pen, or became a pen. We'll just call it that. And the emptiness of this pen, as I use this pen, as this pen loses ink, as this pen cracks if I drop it on the floor, when it breaks, and it will, because it's a cause thing, when it breaks, its emptiness will just blink out of existence because it won't be a thing that I would have this idea that it has a self nature, right? It's gone. It will be gone. So the first of the four perfections is natural perfection of wisdom. It's a negative phenomenon. It's uncaused. It's unchanging. It's consistent. It's uncreated. The second kind of perfection of wisdom is called the textual perfection of wisdom. Say, shung, sherchin. Shung, low tone because of the shung. Shung, sherchin. And shung means writings or books. So this is it also includes anything, verbal teachings as well. So it's defined as any books or verbal teachings that unerringly present the Mahayana, the greater way, and its results. Any teaching, verbal or written, that unerringly presents the path of the greater way and its results. So it doesn't have to be a sutra. It doesn't have to be spoken by an enlightened being. It just has to be that which unerringly presents the Mahayana path and its results. Now, there are a group of sutras called the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras. So don't get confused between Shung Cherjin and the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras. Okay? The third kind of perfection of wisdom is Lam Sherchen. Say Lam Sherchen. So we've had Lam many times, and that means path, right? So this is the path perfection of wisdom. And this is defined as the wisdom of a bodhisattva, imbued with wisdom and method. So wisdom and method, when we're talking about that which is in the state of mind of a bodhisattva, we're talking about correct view, and we're talking about bodhicitta. So correct view here, there are different kinds of correct views, but this correct view is specifically related to the understanding of emptiness, the understanding that things do not have a nature of being the way they appear to us to be. And then bodhicitta is the wish to become enlightened in order to benefit all the beings. So they say that this wisdom of a bodhisattva is completely soaked, or this perfection of wisdom is completely soaked in the understanding of emptiness and the wish to become fully enlightened. in order to help other living beings. And they say soaked because, as we know, as we talked about when we talked about the 5 paths, and particularly the path of seeing, when we're in the direct perception of emptiness, we cannot have manifest or in our thoughts the wish to become enlightened in order to benefit all beings. When we are in the direct perception of emptiness, as someone who is not enlightened, we don't, there are no appearances of things. There are no appearances of thoughts. There are no appearances of objects. There's no appearances of sensations or feelings. None of that. There's only our perception of an absence. So it's not that a bodhisattva, someone who has bodhicitta in their heart, and when they talk about bodhicitta, they talk about it being like active 24/7, that bodhisattvas are constantly motivated by the desire to become enlightened in order to benefit all beings. And it's not that they, they become a lesser sort of being when they're in the direct perception of emptiness, when they don't have that like active manifest in their mind. So that's why they say that it's that their hearts are soaked in bodhicitta. The 4th kind of perfection of wisdom is called Drepu Sherchen. Say Drepu Sherchen. And Drepu, I'm sure some of you know a Drepu. Drepu means result. So this is the, thank you. This is the resulting perfection of wisdom, the 4th one. And this is defined as the ultimate form of wisdom, which is distinguished by 3 characteristics. So we'll go through these 3 characteristics. The first one is called, oh my goodness, I forgot to put in the first one. I'll put it in the chat. Let's see if Zoom chat can handle Tibetan script. Oh, it can. I know that's very tiny for you, but this is, say 10, ki, kepar. Kepar. Kepar means characteristic. 10 means a basis or a foundation. And so what this characteristic of the basis means is who is it that has this perfection of wisdom, this resulting perfection of wisdom? what's called the ultimate form of wisdom. It's a Buddha. So only a Buddha possesses the ultimate form, the resulting perfection of wisdom. The second characteristic is called Ngooi Kepar. So Kepar again is characteristic, and Ngo, that means essence. And what this is referring to, this characteristic, is that the perfection of wisdom consists of non-dual wisdom. So we talked about non-duality in class 6, right? And that there are two meanings of non-duality when we were talking about the direct perception of emptiness. The first was that there are no two appearances. When you're in the direct perception of emptiness, you know you don't have the appearance of, the experience of subject and object. You don't have the experience of being a person in meditation on, that would be the subject, in meditation on the object, emptiness. Your only experience is emptiness. There is no appearance of two things. And then the second meaning of non-duality is that subject and object are equally empty of a self-nature. They're both empty of a self-nature. And Geshe Michael did not get into this. And I just think it would be interesting to think about and talk about with friends about what does non-duality mean for a fully enlightened being? Because a fully enlightened being sees both appearances and emptiness of those appearances in the same moment. So where for us as non-enlightened beings, when we're in the direct perception of emptiness, we experience only an absence. A fully enlightened being, on the other hand, is always in the direct perception of emptiness, and they are always seeing. Remember, we talked about this, I think it was last time. We, as enlightened beings, we see all things, the totality of all things in all universes, of all times, past, present, and future, in every moment. So I just think that would be an interesting thing to think about, of what non-duality means relating to a fully enlightened being. Then the third kind of characteristic that the ultimate or resulting perfection of wisdom has is that Kakcha Dang Dralwe Kepar. Say, please, Kakcha Dang Dralwe Kepar. So Kepar again is characteristic. Kakcha, we have talked about before as well. That is the thing that emptiness is empty of, right? It's a self-existence to something. And Jawa means to be free of. So Kakchagdang Drelwe Kepar means the resulting perfection of wisdom has the characteristic of being devoid of, empty of, free from the object that we deny, which means, of course, that the resulting perfection of wisdom lacks possessing a true nature, a self nature. It as well, the resulting perfection of wisdom is like an illusion, in that it is an appearance that is projected by the ripening of karmic seeds. So if we, so this is the true, this last one, the resulting perfection of wisdom is the actual or ultimate perfection of wisdom, right? In the mind of a fully enlightened being, free of dual appearances, and free from the object that we deny, free of self-existence. So that could be a question on your homework, to identify which of the four is the actual perfection of wisdom and why. So when we talked about the perfections, the 6 perfections of a bodhisattva, and we brought up this idea of paramita, perfection being like perfect, and that a bodhisattva, as a bodhisattva, not a fully enlightened being, is not practicing actual or true perfections, right? They are practicing in order to be perfect. That their actions, they're doing them in order to make them perfected actions. So we should remember that too, that it's still, we can call the activities of a bodhisattva perfections of wisdom and all the other perfections. So when the Subhuti asked the Buddha, what do I call this teaching? Which of the 4 perfections, when the Buddha says You can call it the perfection of wisdom. Which of the four perfections is he talking about? We have a guess for fourth. Does everyone agree with Tim? Oh, we have a guess for third. We have a guess for, so we've got it, we've got one vote for resulting perfection of wisdom, and we've got one vote for the path perfection of wisdom. What were the, oh, here we go. We have a vote for the second type of perfection of wisdom, which is the textual perfection of wisdom. Yes, that's what this one is the textual perfection of wisdom. Now, if we talk about the content of the book, what is the book teaching? What was the Buddha teaching? The subject. Oh, that's a very clever answer, actually, to think of it as the path perfection of wisdom. But let's get into, and then hopefully we'll be able to better think about these three. There's one more thing that we can talk about these perfections of wisdom. So we did talk about it with regards to the natural perfection of wisdom. We said it was a negative thing, right? And we said it was unchanging, uncreated, totally constant, never fluctuating. The textual perfection of wisdom, is that a positive thing or a negative thing? Positive, yes. And it's a changing thing, yes. And it was created, right? And is it physical or mental? So it's either, it has the nature of either being speech or the written word. So yes, physical. It has the nature of being physical. Something you hear from a teacher or something you read in a book. Then the third, the path perfection of wisdom, is that mental or is that physical? So remember, this is the wisdom of a bodhisattva that's imbued with correct view and the wish to become fully enlightened. So yes, it's mental. It's mental. And is it changing? Yes, it's a changing thing. Is it caused? Yes, it's a caused thing. It grows, it dies. Now, the resulting perfection of wisdom, is that a caused thing? Yes. It it dies uh, moment by moment. So the resulting perfection of wisdom is a positive thing. So it dies out moment by moment and is uh, reappears moment by moment. But it never dies out in the sense of comes to an end, because a fully enlightened being has amassed, collected this tremendous amount of positive karma, right? The the positive actions they've done, the positive karmic seeds they've created are just tremendously large number, and uh, they are not going to wear out. You can think of it. What is that word? Uh, they're like Buddhas are self-perpetuating wisdom, because every action Buddhas do is to benefit all living beings, and it's done with wisdom, perfect wisdom in their minds. So they're just constantly creating the uh, continual perfection of wisdom. It will never die out. So in these teachings, when they say something is perishable, when they say that something dies out, because it dies out moment by moment, that doesn't mean uh, that it's not changing or that it will end. Okay? So the books, the second of the perfection of wisdom, the textual perfection of wisdom, those are physical. The last two, the essence perfection of wisdom and the resulting perfection of wisdom, are mental, right? And the first one, the natural perfection of wisdom, that one is emptiness itself. It's neither mental nor physical. It's just a simple absence of self-existence. So hopefully that helps us keep these different kinds of perfections straight in our mind. And we know then when we go to further teachings on the perfection of wisdom, we'll know which one the phrase refers to when we go to these teachings. Okay. So then the Buddha says to Subhuti, so what do you think? Does the perfection of wisdom exist? And the Buddha, Subhuti, he says, no. And the Buddha says, and that's exactly why we can call it the perfection of wisdom. So the Buddha says, just to go through it again, the Buddha says, asks, does the perfection of wisdom exist? Subhuti says, no, it does not. And then the Buddha responds, and that is exactly why we can call it the perfection of wisdom. And this exchange, this very seemingly simple exchange between the Buddha and Subhuti, is the whole meaning of Madhyamika, or the greater way. Madhyamika in Sanskrit actually doesn't mean greater way, it means middle way. So please excuse me. Madhyamika means middle way. Ika is just an ending, a grammatical ending in Sanskrit. So the main word we're concerned with is madhyam. And it has come into English as medium or middle. So if we think about, I have a picture I want to share. If we think about, like, if we're, I used to be a mountain climber way back in the day. And if you think about taking a path like in the mountains, not a nice leisurely path on level ground, but you're up in the mountains and there are very steep declines next to your path. Usually paths have a sharp edge just on one side, and then the other side is the side of the mountain that's still, if you're climbing up the mountain, the other side is rising up above you, and then one side is a sharp cliff going off below. But in the Buddhist teachings, they talk about the middle way being between two cliffs. So if you could sort of think of it like this, we're climbing up this middle way, this path. You see these stairs. Someone's built quite an elaborate path. These stairs going up, they're quite wide. I think the middle way is much more narrow myself. But this, I think, gives a good idea about if we step off this middle path, we're going to fall one way or the other. This one would be, this would be hard to fall from, I think, this particular path. There's another path I have a picture of. It's not quite as dramatic with those rocks, but I think it shows, at least in my experience, like how narrow this path is. This is just my experience, that it's very narrow. So see how narrow that is? That's very narrow. We have to walk carefully as we traverse this middle way so that we don't fall one way or the other. So let's talk more about what it would mean, or what it means when they say falls, that you could fall off this sort of ridge, this path of the middle way. So we talk about ta. Say ta. Ta is it means well, it has different meanings, but here when we talk about ta, it means extreme. Extreme. And when we talk about extremes in terms of the middle way, they actually do use the word Drakyang. Drakyang. And Trak means a mountain crag, the rocks, like that first picture had the rocks. And then yang means a cliff, a sharp edge, going to an abyss. So when they talk about ta, they're talking about, and of course they would. In Tibet, they had many mountains. So, in India as well, many mountains. And so paths were something that people could relate to. So when you think about the two extremes now in Buddhism, the nita, the two extremes, we have to bring to our mind that we're talking about basically a cliff, that if we fall to either side, that's going to bring us big pain. And not only pain, it's going to bring us, this is a very kind of difficult word to say, but pungwarngyur. Pungwarngyur. And what that means is to waste something precious. To waste something precious. Like the reason I don't climb around in mountains anymore is because I would be at high risk of wasting this particular precious human life that I have. So I'm not going to put myself in unnecessary danger, right? I'm going to stay on solid ground. Thank you very much. So this pungwarngyur, this wasting of something precious, if we fall to either of the two extremes, which we're going to talk about, we would be wasting something precious. It's not just that we would die physically. We're wasting this very precious opportunity we have, being human, being born at a time when the teachings are being taught on this planet, having an interest in these topics, having extraordinary people, these live translators who are taking words from a language you don't understand and bringing them into your own language so that you can understand someone who's on the other side of the planet from you, speaking just blah, blah noise to you. This is like amazing. This is so precious, what we have here. And we can't waste it by falling into extremes. So on your homework, there's going to be a question, which if you are doing the homework in Tibetan, you're going to need this phrase. And I'm not going to read the Tibetan for you, but I will describe it. This is from, it's a short quotation from Geshe Kappa's book called Illumination of the True Thought. And this just so happens to be a book that Geshe Michael finished translating in December. It's not fully polished yet, so we can expect we'll be able to get it next year or something. But in this book and in this section, Geshe Kappa is quoting Master Kamalashila. And remember, we talked about way back in the first class that Master Kamalashila wrote a commentary on the Dhammapada Sutra as well. So he quotes Master Kamalashila's Light of the Middle Way. And I'll just read for you Geshe Michael's translation of this section. And as such, when we refer to an extreme here, we are talking about a place from which you could take a fall. In the everyday world, for example, they talk about a cliff on a mountain as being the extreme limit. And when a person falls off a cliff like this, people say they went over the edge. Here we're talking about the same thing. We're referring to a position that when you hold to it, you are completely lost. You have fallen off the very edge of the cliff. I should have first put this here for the live translators. I do so apologize. So if you can take a moment to look at that and see if any corrections need to be made or adjustments to your live translation. I'll shut up. So please give me the thumbs up when you're ready. Look at the Tin's already translated into Vietnamese. He'll have the book translated into Vietnamese probably before we actually publish it. So brilliant. So what are these two extremes that Buddhism talks? Oh, look at this. Translated into Chinese already. Okay, we do live in amazing times with amazing people. We are so fortunate. We are not ordinary precious humans. We are extraordinary precious humans. Okay, so what are these two extremes? Which, if we were to grasp them, if we were to hold them in our minds, we would be falling off into an abyss. The first one is called yutta. Say yutta. Yutta. Yut means to exist. To exist. So this first of the two extremes is the extreme of existence. The extreme of existence. This is one that this is the big danger to like everyone on the planet. We think things exist from their own side. We hold that as being true, even though we know intellectually from these teachings that things do not exist from their own side. Still, you can be studying for decades, at least if you're anything like me, 30 some years, and still I get caught with thinking that things come from their own side. Oh, that person is angry from their own side. You can quickly catch yourself before you completely fall off the edge into the abyss. And that's basically the practice, right? Keeping balanced on this path, on this middle way path, and not falling completely into the extremes. The most dangerous extreme being, for us, being the extreme of existence. So everyone has this, even, animals have this, bugs have this. It's not a matter of intelligence. The other extreme is metta. Metta. Say metta. And so me means non-existent, does not exist. So the extreme of non-existence. Now this one is far less of a danger to those of us who have received perfect teachings about emptiness, about the nature of reality. For us who have had these kinds of teachings, it's nearly impossible to think that we would say, oh, nothing exists. No, we know that things exist. We know that we have experiences. We feel things. We hear things. We touch things. We know things exist. We know that they don't exist the way they appear to us to exist, because we've been taught well. So for us to fall into the extreme of thinking that because things are empty, nothing exists. Now, where it is possible for those of us who study to fall on this side is, I have seen in some people where they hear these teachings and they say, okay, then I don't need to be moral. I don't need to be ethical, because karma doesn't exist self-existently. So I can do whatever I want. So that's the danger. So beware of that. So now there is this phrase here, tarn zin. So this is just ta, and then a little particle, grammatical particle, and zin. And zin means to grasp or to hold. So this is to hold in our mind. Tarn zin means to grasp to an extreme. And we can grasp to either one of these two extremes when we're talking about the path of the middle way, is a path that threads between these two extremes, so that we will not grasp to or hold to either of these wrong ideas, that things exist from their own side, or that because things don't exist from their own side, nothing matters. Yes, those are the two extremes that we want to. That's why I think it's like a tightrope. Why? Right? We have to walk the tightrope, the very, very narrow path, ridge between these two extremes. Another word that you see, I'll give you two more words that that we see, particularly in a lot of the texts that we're doing in Xuanzang's Tower, the translation program. When they talk about these two extremes, they talk about drondok and kerndep. And drondok is the word for overestimation, or thinking that something has the quality of being what it is from its own side, right? Being self-existent. And kerndep is underestimating something, that because something is empty, it doesn't exist or doesn't matter. Right. Now, there's another kind of extreme that is related to the first one. It's related to yutta, the extreme of existence from its own side. And it's called takta. Takta. And this talk, if you've had other classes in, I don't think we've used this Tibetan word yet in this course, but in others it's frequently used. Tak means unchanging. Or here, when we're talking about takta, the extreme of, here it means permanence. The extreme of permanence. Sometimes you'll see it as the extreme of eternalism, of lasting forever, that things could last forever. And this one we do, like, wrapped up in our thinking about something having a nature of being, for example, an angry boss. If when we're holding to that boss as being an angry boss from his own side, there's wrapped up in that is this idea that he's always going to be an angry boss. Always. Not just that it has nothing to do with me, but I mean, we do talk this way sometimes, like, oh, that's just the way they are. You know, I don't like to spend time with this person because, you know, they complain. They complain all the time. That's just the way they are. I don't want to hang out with them. So this one does sneak in. You have to be very careful. No one is just who they are. That would be the extreme of permanence, which is related to the extreme of existence. So, how do we get rid of these two and these two grasping to extremes? And it's this verse here that I would love for you to speak because it's so very powerful, and it will plant wonderful seeds if you have the motivation. You set your motivation clearly for this class. Okay, please say Shenyang, Nangwei, Yuta, Selwa, Dong, Tongpei, Mekta, Selshing, Tongpani, Gyu, Dang, Jaipur, Charway, Sul, Shena, Tarnzin, Tawei, Trokpar, Mingyuro. So cell, we look here, we've got cell in the first line and in the second line. The cell means to eliminate or clear away. It's like what light does to darkness when you turn on a light in a room at night. It clears away the darkness. It eliminates the darkness. So what dispels, what clears away the extreme view of existence of Nangwa, which means here what it's relating to is understanding appearances, how things appear to you. And how do things appear to you? Things appear to you in dependent origination, right? From the highest school's point of view, things appear to you. They are just projections, mental images projected by the ripening seeds in your mind. So that's what appearances are, all related to this idea of dependent origination, dependent arising. Things arise in your mind as an appearance in your mind, as an experience in your mind, in dependence on your mind projecting a mental image due to the ripening of karmic seeds. When do we have the direct perception of dependent origination. We didn't talk about it in these terms, but we did talk about this time. It's on one of the 5 paths: path of preparation, path of accumulation, path of seeing, path of habituation, path of no more learning. So having a direct perception of dependent arising occurs on which path, do you think? It has a special name. Second path, yes. Thank you, Tin. Yes. It's the, look at you guys. Chokchu. It goes the other way around. But the right words. It's the highest dharma. It's the highest point that we get right before we see emptiness directly. We see dependent origination. We see our mind making mental images and, really throwing them onto an object. And then that image just covers the object. We see ourselves then mistaking that image. Mistaking the object for the image that we just threw onto it. We see our minds do that. And we did that by studying Chichedrak, right? By studying quality and characteristics, becoming very familiar with how it is that our mind perceives things. Okay. Tongpa, that means emptiness, right? Tongpe, it changes the pronunciation, but all we've done is we've add this letter at the end. And that letter indicates that emptiness does something. Now, emptiness doesn't do anything. Emptiness is a negative thing. So this is talking about our understanding of emptiness that does something. It's really our wisdom that does something, but it's our understanding of emptiness, of the lack of self-existence to things. And then metta, that was the extreme of non-existence, right? Because things don't have a nature of being what they are from their own side, I can do anything I want. I can steal this money, I can do this negative thing. No one's looking, and it doesn't exist anyway, so no problem. That's a danger. So what this says is that because things, realizing emptiness clears away, understanding emptiness clears away the extreme of non-existence. Seeing how things appear clears away the extreme of existence. By understanding how it is that we're constructing our experience of all objects, by throwing a mental picture, projecting a mental image, we dispel the wrong view of holding to things as being truly existent. when we understand that things are empty of a true nature, we dispel holding to the wrong view that nothing matters. Because things are empty, everything does matter, you know? Because things are empty of having a self nature, they can change. Because things are empty, you can see yourself as a fully enlightened being. You can see your mind as omniscient. So these two lines from Tsongkhapa are, Geshe Michael calls them his crowning achievement. The last thing I want to talk about is we could say it's like the crowning achievement of the middle way. And that's talking about the two don't exist and the two do exist. So this will make sense when we talk about this. And do we have time? Yes, let's read this just to plant the seeds. I think it's another very important two lines in the Tibetan that are so extraordinary. So please say Rangshin. Yi Met Kyang Tene Mepa. Oh, misspelling. Don't say Mayimpa, say Mayimpa. I'll fix that. Tang Tanye Sam De Ye Kyang Rangshin Gi Yupa. Oh, I made a mistake there too. Oh my goodness. Well, I was doing it at midnight. My apologies. Mayinpe Yewa Shir Pe. So we can think of these two lines as talking about four facts. Two do exist, and two do not exist. Rang Xin Gi means naturally. Naturally. We could say it means this is instrumental, so it would be by its own nature. Rangshin. So Rangshin Gi, naturally. Me means again doesn't exist. Nothing exists. Kyang means but. Mayin, that's going to the end of each of these sentences. Mayin, another negative, means is not. Is not. Tene means at all. So, Rangxing Gi Mei, nothing exists naturally. Nothing exists from its own side. Young, but my yin, it's not that nothing exists at all. Mepa, tene mepa, ma yinpa. So it's not, nothing exists naturally, but that doesn't mean that nothing exists at all. So we have two don't exist, right? Nothing exists naturally. And it's not true that nothing exists at all. Now, on the other side of the equation, the second line, Tanye Samdu, means in name only. In name only. And by name, what we're talking about is projections, mental images. So here we've got Tanye Samdu, in name only. Yeah, things exist in name only. Kyang, but Mayimpa. It is not that Yupa, again, everything exists naturally. Things exist in name only, but that doesn't mean that things exist naturally. And that's what I have to share today. So if you'd like to join me in dedicating this class towards reaching your highest goals, then please do. Gewadi gewoku Sunam Yeshe Dzogsokshin Sunam Yeshe Lejumwe Dampar Kuni Toparsho. Thank you, live translators. You're really extraordinary. I hope one day I can be like you.
Thank you,
Everyone, for your interest and your hard work in understanding, or at least you're doing a very good job of pretending for my benefit. Thank you for that. Because it is, I find, a great benefit for me to teach these ideas. It's really extraordinary. Thank you, especially to Geshe Michael, for putting together these courses. Have a wonderful 2 days, and I'll see you for our last class on Friday. Have a good night, all of you sleepy ones on the other side of the planet, and have a good evening, all of you who are reaching dinner time. See you later.
Thank you, teacher.